3 steps to pass any certifications. This is the exact method that I use to pass my 7 certifications that I already have. And it's fairly simple. It's three steps. So step 1, knowledge acquisition. Step 2, memorization. Step 3, practice tests. And I even included 2 bonuses for you guys. So hands-on application and even using AI, which is something new that I've actually started implementing. So going back to step 1, we see here we got courses, free resources, and YouTube. So to give you some more context, a lot of times the certifications will have courses on like Udemy or a bunch of other sites that Coursera is one of them. These kinds of sites that are dedicated to giving you training for certifications or for a certain skill set. And then free resources, the best example I can think of is something like Professor Messer on YouTube. He teaches like Network Plus, Security Plus, all the CompTIA stuff, and he has all of that posted up there for free, and they're like 15, 20 hour long courses. And then YouTube. So Professor Messer actually is on YouTube, but YouTube's going to be a great resource too. So if you don't understand a certain topic or you want to dive a little bit more into it, you can always find YouTube videos on the certain thing that you're not understanding. Then what you want to do, and what I personally do, is 2 to 4 hours minimum daily. And what this is going to do is, if you think about it, if you put in the minimum 2 hours, you're doing 14 hours a week of studying, and that's going to be enough time to finish pretty much any course. Obviously some of them are longer, some of them are shorter, so it could take a week, maybe 2 weeks, depending on how much time you put in. But if you put in 4 hours, for example, you're now at 28 hours for the week studied, which is enough to pretty much finish any course out there. So in 1 week you could be done with technical knowledge acquisition. The last thing is info dump in notes or flashcards. So this is going to tie into step 2. Step 2 is going to be memorization, and we're going to talk about that in a second, but it's going to be helpful if throughout the knowledge acquisition phase you're writing down notes, or you're writing down bullet points or definitions or whatever it is that you do personally that helps you. For me personally, I'll write down notes, definitions for acronyms, definitions for services for like AWS certs or Azure, whatever it is. Definitions, things that are going to be important to know and that I need to understand for later, and that I can put into flashcards. Step 2, memorization. Like I said, flashcards, you can use Quizlet, or Anki is another one. Anki you download, is not online. Quizlet is online. Both of them support uploading documents to create flashcards. And Quizlet actually has like AI integrations and stuff in it too, but you do have to pay for that. But I mostly use Quizlet, and flashcards, at least for me personally, work really well. Some people they do, but usually it's going to work well for everyone. Flashcards are pretty universal. And what you're going to want to do for this is essentially write down all the notes you had, put that into your flashcard. So if you have an acronym, for example, SIM, right? Write it out, System Information and Event Manager. So that way on the flashcard, it'll just say SIM, and then you have to recall in your memory what that actually means. And then you can even go a step further and put, what a brief description of what it does. And what that's going to do is train your memory recall, which is going to enhance the memorization of whatever it is you're trying to learn. Then you're going to want to think about how you could apply the concepts technically. This is something that I personally do just because I'm very analytical about stuff. So for example, I was studying for AWS Solutions Architect, and every time they would go over a service, I would think about, okay, so for example, EC2, right? Elastic compute, cloud and compute machines, which are basically just VMs in the cloud for AWS. How can I use these? Like, what applications can these have for me or for applications? So for example, I'd be like, okay, if I wanted to run an application, I could use that VM to now run whatever it is I need to run, and then boom. So that's an application. For example, Lambda, which is a serverless like code processing and running, basically serverless batch process. So Lambda is like pretty much you can run any piece of code. It does have a max time limit of 15 minutes, but for example, let's say I wanted to have certain data processed out of a JSON and then put into like a DynamoDB database. I could use Lambda to do that, and it would be something that would be really scalable, really cost effective, and there you go. That's just an example, right? With Security Plus, you can think like SIM, again, going back to that. It's like, what am I going to use a SIM for? Okay, I'm going to use a SIM to see the collection of alerts, go in, analyze, see the logs, analyze logs, and then be able to determine whether it's malicious or not. So these things are going to help you with memorization because you're going to apply a practical use case to whatever it is you're studying, which further enhances your memorization and also helps you understand like why you would even use the service or tool. Step 3, practice tests. So you could do this one of two ways. If you're on a time crunch or you just really want to try to go fast, you can take the practice test first, see what sections you really need to work on and what sections are kind of okay, and then focus on the ones you're really weak in, take the practice test again and repeat that whole thing. And then or you could do the first 2 steps first, which honestly I recommend doing it that way just because you get everything kind of ready to go. And then the practice test, what they'll do is show you where you need to go back and study and like kind of brush up on, and then that way once you do that you can come back to the practice test again. You want to make sure there's scenario based questions as well. Depending on the exam you're taking, some of them are like really foundational and it's going to be more definitions and more like what does this acronym mean, but something like Security Plus, CYSA Plus, CEH, OSCP, these are going to be scenario based stuff. So you're going to be wanting to practice scenario based more. Like AWS Solutions Architect was like, hey, we have this type of infrastructure here, the company has this goal, how can we implement this goal in the most cost effective way, like something like that, you know. That's all the questions were. Then you want to drill these as many times as possible, as many questions as well as possible. Just try to get the most exposure to it, because this is just gonna pull on your memory recall again, right? If you're in a scenario, Security Plus for example, it's like, okay, you received a phishing email and now you're looking for, and they'll show you a picture of the phishing email, and then it's like select all that apply, and it's going to ask you what indicators are in this email that would indicate to you that it's a phishing email. Then you would go in, look for the indicators, select your answers, and then it will tell you if it's right or wrong. And then that way you actually learn as you go as well, because if it's a really good practice test, it'll tell you the correct answer and then the wrong answers and why they're wrong and why the correct answer is good. And it's very tough to find those types of practice tests just because a lot of people take the easy route out and they'll just say whether it's correct or not and then you move on. But it is what it is. This helps with memorization using active recall, like I mentioned. So the flashcards, active recall, practice test, active recall, right? So especially for scenario-based questions, you have to understand like what the service or tool does and how to string multiple procedures or steps together to get to the solution, which is going to help you just further memorize everything that you need to know for the test and just understand at a deeper level what you're actually learning. First bonus, hands-on application. So sometimes certifications will have labs or workshops that are based on the concepts of the cert exam. Sometimes they're paid, sometimes they're free. You just really got to look around and see what you can find. But I highly recommend this if you've done the first 3 steps and you're still really struggling for the practice tests. Like if you're not getting 80% plus consistently across them, then I would recommend keep drilling them, obviously, but do some hands-on stuff. So use the processes, the tools, the services, whatever's in your certification, and understand. This will help you understand how they work at an actual technical level, because you're actually using it. You're going through the configurations. You're going through how you would actually use it in the real world, And this is going to help you understand just better how all that stuff flows together, which will then make it easier for you to answer the questions. Hands-on training will always give you the best practice. So in the military, they do this, right? They give you the technical knowledge, and then most of the time is spent hands-on application, doing what you just learned, but actually doing it with your hands, making sure you understand how everything works in real life applications. And the reason they do this is because it's the most effective way to learn. So if you're still struggling with learning after the first 3 steps, I highly recommend hands-on application. It's just going to solidify everything tenfold. And even if you are good with the first 3 steps, I would still recommend this one. And then, like I mentioned, it's important to understand why you did everything you did in the workshop or lab, because that's going to further your understanding of everything. And then the last one, using AI, right? So this is kind of a new thing that I've been implementing, but let's just go back to this one, right? Practice test. Let's say practice test doesn't tell you why it's right or wrong. What you could do is go to ChatGPT, copy the question and all the answers, be like, this is the question, this is the correct answer. Can you tell me why this answer is correct and the other ones are wrong? And what it will do is it will go into why. It'll give you the explanations, for example, on why that's correct and why the other ones are wrong. And this will help you even further, because now you're going to understand why the other ones were wrong, or if you chose the wrong answer, why it was wrong, and then why the correct answer is the correct answer. And again, it's just going to further and solidify your understanding and solidify your memorization. And another way you can use AI is to actually generate the scenario-based questions. So what you would do is come here, you'll just do Security Plus as an example, right? You get the exam objectives. And how I got this is I just Googled Security Plus exam objectives, and it's literally the first link. You're just gonna copy this link, go to ChatGPT, and just be like, okay, using the Security Plus exam objectives here, put the link in, generate me 3 scenario based questions on any subject in the exam objectives. Then format, Apple format, you would say for every question generated, output the scenario followed by 4 multiple choice answers. Then after 30 seconds, highlight the correct answer. So we'll just try this for now, but let's see what it does. And this is something you got to play around with too. Just, it's AI, it's still learning, but you can see. Okay, so it says it's going to generate the Security Plus off the scenario-based questions off the Security Plus objectives. Boom, we just got one. You can actually see it is waiting for 3 seconds before giving us the correct answer. You can obviously tell it to wait for more, but yeah. So I don't want to get too far into this because it's out of scope for the video, but you can see just based off of this very simple prompt, we're able to get scenario-based questions. So if you can't find an exam online, this is another route you could take using AI, and I'm sure there's way more applications, but this is just 2 that you can do with AI. So back to everything here. Pretty much we got these 5 steps here. So knowledge acquisition, memorization, practice tests, hands-on application, and using AI. If you just do these 3 to 5 steps every time, I guarantee that you'll pass on the first try every time. Yep, that's it. So these are the 3 steps to pass any certification. Hope you guys enjoyed. Cyber Sensei Aaron. Peace.